So hello, everyone, and thanks for joining into our webinar. My name is Usman Sheikh. I'm the CEO of xiQ, and great privilege for me to be here today. If you can go to the next slide. And a lot has changed, as Lois just mentioned, the entire complexion of how B2B sales and marketing works is entirely different. And so last year, in anticipation for some of this change, we have had the privilege of speaking to some of the best industry innovators and thought leaders, such as Gianni Giacomelli, Chief Innovation Officer at Genpact, or Henri Richards, who was the Executive Vice President at NetApp, including some of our prominent clients from Nutanix and Dell. Um, and we've learned a lot. And what we wanted to do is kick off this year with our first webinar and talk a little bit about what are some of the forces and not dwell on so much on the past and how digital transformation has started to take place, but kind of look forward and see how do we actually thrive in this new reality. And so what we're going to do today is, Lois, we're going to actually present in a manner where we're going to bring in some of the excerpts from our previous Learn with the Pro series webinars, where we've spoken to these individuals, and kind of get them to give us their point of view on particular topics. And so if you go to the next slide, please. The very big changes, Lois, what you've experienced on the ski slopes, and is that things have drastically changed. And one of those things that has changed is that ability to meet in person, right? Whether that was a breakfast webinar, whether that was a breakfast seminar, or a golf outing, or a dinner, or a lunch, that's pretty much removed off the table. And it's this situation, maybe the pandemic had something to do to push it forward, but this has been brewing for a while. And the top analyst research that has been done shows that 80% of buyers prefer to move on to the digital landscape and work already. Now, the pandemic and putting distance, physical distancing and social distancing may accelerate that, but already the trend was quite vigorously in favor of moving online and doing things digitally. As a matter of fact, what we see after the last 10 months is that 70% have already moved into digital, right? So this is very different. One is 80% want to move, right? And 70% are already there. So that acceleration has taken place. The next thing that we see in this backdrop is the introduction of artificial intelligence, or as we like to call it, augmented intelligence, right? So this is really the big game changer. And Lois, what I'd like to do is introduce one of our first guests today. His name is Henri Richards. He is the former executive vice president at NetApp. Henri was kind enough to join us recently and tell us a little bit about how B2B selling is changing. So let's hear it from the pros.
But I think more than ever, the pandemic has demonstrated that adaptability is now becoming a key attribute of a successful sales individual in this environment. It's pretty obvious what AI can do because you now have essentially a fully digital interaction with your customer. So this opens a almost unlimited universe for the AI utilization in the sales process. You don't have the same amount of interaction with your customer. You have to come as well armed as you can in understanding what's going to make them click. It's really important for sales leader in the current context to explore what the art of the possible out there and understand that we are now at a point where there's enough digital content in the sales process that it's too much for an individual to process, and it's totally the realm of AI. And I think, in particular, of course, what your company is doing is very interesting in that regard.
So yeah, so that's really, you're hearing it, folks, from really the people that are kind of driving this change and are experiencing it day in and day out. Another friend of our company is Gianni Giacomelli. Gianni is the Chief Innovation Leader at Genpact, but he spoke to us recently from his another role that he carries, which is working with the MIT's Collaborative Design Lab. And here, Gianni works on looking at what digital networks, machine as well as human networks, what is the role these networks are playing in shaping things like marketing, things like B2B sales. So let's hear it from Gianni and see what is he observing in this time of change.
What we are going through right now is probably the biggest experiments, mass scale experiments, change management experiment in using different ways of collaborating, right? We never had something like this. Even the introduction of search engines and email, etc., were more gradual. Most of us, at least, were growing up in a period of, you do things in person mostly. You do things remote if you can get together in person. That was always the concept. You have networks of people and machines, by the way, helping people sharing knowledge every day. Those networks, some of them in normal times are in person. For sales professionals and for marketing professionals, this is a total boon, right? I mean, the moment you start being able to use those big networks, you'll get a lot more information than what you would typically be able to do by sending people to conferences or being in person with clients. It's just a different scale.
So again, very, very interesting in terms of what Gianni's perspective is as well. So let me just kind of summarize what these gentlemen have told us. They've said that today, the sales process, there's a lot of data available to sellers and marketers. And this abundance of data, which is largely unstructured, there's an opportunity for artificial intelligence to come in there and make sense out of that data so it could be purposefully used for B2B sales and marketing. Second thing what Gianni said was the value of these networks. If you can just not go there, please, is the value of these networks. And these networks are where there is tremendous opportunity and wealth of information. How can we harness that? So for today's discussion, what we're going to do is we're going to actually show you real life examples. And we're going to show you those real life examples by demonstrating our xiQ's own platform. And there are three stages of what xiQ's AI powered B2B sales and marketing platform does. We're going to use this platform and use cases associated with this platform and customer success stories associated with this platform to demonstrate to you how what these thought leaders have just pointed to, which is the change, how what the industry is already recognized as forces that are driving the change. How can you actually harness that and trans, you know, leapfrog transformation and thrive in there? So step number one, when we talk about xiQ, is the ability to engage your clients and prospects in an ever-present manner. Today, the seller of the future has to be somebody who can engage clients and prospects and can be there as a partner, has to be a trustworthy individual. And the way you establish trust is by being able to demonstrate your knowledge and know-how of a particular domain. So being able to find relevant content to share with your ecosystem, to engage them, stay relevant and pertinent in that is the number one tactic a B2B seller today needs to adopt to be a viable, trustworthy seller partner. So this is important, folks. xiQ helps you harness that. Next, what we do is we help you analyze and qualify those opportunities based on how they are engaging with the outreach that you're putting out there. And lastly, we have this ability to be able to use artificial intelligence to predict the personality type of an individual. And this comes is really helpful. Think about this: AI meets behavioral science to help you unravel the cognitive mysteries of how people make decisions. Very core. Let me say that in simple English. It helps you understand how people make buying and critical decisions. If you can understand how people are making decisions, you're halfway home because now you have the ability to feed them and communicate with them in a manner that is going to make you much more effective in getting your point across. So this is super, super important. So with that said, what we're going to do is I'm going to hand it over to you, Lois. How are you going about kind of navigating this change? Tell us a little bit, please.
Okay, thank you, Usman. So as I said in the beginning, as a B2B seller, I don't have the presence out in the field as I once did. And so now more than ever, it's really important for me to understand my buyer, not only what their personality is like, but also what's happening on a company level. Because folks now want to engage with someone they trust, but they don't have the ability to do it in person like they once did. And so for me, a life in the day at xiQ, because we drink our own champagne and I love using the platform that we have, is I do research. And so if I'm given a name and a company that I need to access or target for an account, I go to xiQ's dashboard and then I type in either marketing director and the company name of who I'm searching, and I find an individual. So in a matter of seconds, I'm creating that focus. And so if my goal has been to make an account plan for entrance at Splunk, I'm then going to zero in on Allison, who's a customer marketing director. And so when I click into her name, I'm taken to her disc analysis. And so this tells me the ways that Allison conducts herself in relation to business. And so I see that she's an analyst. She's primarily driven by logic. She's accurate, task organized, meticulous, and calm. It also shows me the ways in which she's motivated. So she's driven again by order and logic. When it comes to building trust, she's naturally leery of people who treat their work with indifference. And so again, I'm taking all of these notes to personalize my outreach and better understand my prospects without having met her in person. And so it's giving you those insights that you no longer have, because as a sales maker, we've been a bit blinded by the change these last 12 months. And so this again is great insight on Allison in regards to emailing. So I can compose my email and use logic. I can use graphs and charts and try and connect with her in a way that I've understood from xiQ and her personality. So this is all wonderful information. It helps me understand Allison a bit better. But again, to build that trust and to appear as an advisor for Allison in the field, I also need to know what's happening behind the doors at Splunk. So if I'm clicking in on her company name, I'm taken to a great summary: who Splunk is, what they do, estimated revenue. And then if I want to interact with them even more so, I can look at their Twitter feed. I can go to LinkedIn and again, create those connections, but I have everything here in one place. So the summary of Splunk, who they are, what they do, but I want to take it deeper. Again, I need to know what's happening behind the curtain. And so I want to look at what's happening in real-time news in relation to Splunk. And so here on these sales triggers, I'm shown 19 different categories from every corner of the web in relation to Splunk in regards to CXO moves, events, how they're handling COVID-19. And then again, I can hyper personalize and funnel it down so that I'm taken on articles related specifically to the topic that I'm interested in, or I think is a jumping off point to engage Allison in conversation. So not only can I filter the triggers down here, but I also can be alerted daily simply by following an account. So if I'm in charge of 20 different accounts for my company, I have them added to my xiQ database. And as soon as I log in, or as soon as I wake up in the morning, I'm alerted as to news and triggers that happen in real time. So again, I can be that advisor. I can reach out in the appropriate and timely manner because I'm aware and I'm knowledgeable, and they should not only have a conversation with me, but I need to build trust. Also, I can take a look at the financials of Splunk. Is now a great time to reach out? Or did they just start Q1? Are they in a spending hold? I can look at their SEC filings and reports. And again, I want to see what's happening on a social level as well. I want to engage. Since I can't do it in person, Twitter or LinkedIn could be a great way to do so. And I can get a pulse for what's happening socially under xiQ's roof. So now I have knowledge about Allison as an individual. I have knowledge about what's happening at her company, but I also want to know who she reports to and what these C-suites are like for Splunk. And so I'm taken to a great overview, and I can also download a dossier and share it with my team. So if I need to create a plan of entrance strategy, I can simply download the dossier of Splunk entirely, share it with my team members, and then everyone at Team xiQ is well prepared, prior to our next outreach or prior to our next meeting. So we really have our finger on the pulse of what's happening behind the doors at Splunk and can curate our outreach from there. So again, a great 360-degree view of account intelligence in regards to Splunk. But if I want to double click on an individual at the C-suite level, such as Carrie, I would do so and be taken again to her DISC analysis. So I see she isn't an analyst. She's a planner. She has a mix of steady and conscientious. She's influencing, she's dominant. And since she has a larger digital footprint as well, I see news in relation to Carrie and Splunk, also videos and what's happening with her socially as well. So tweets from her directly or what she's been tagged in. And so Usman, that's a really great overview. Again, a day in the life of Lois and how, since I'm not in the field anymore, I still gain insights on people and accounts and what's happening with my buyers.
So I'm glad to see that you've been able to get some of your work kind of scheduled in with your skiing as well. So that's fantastic stuff. I love it. But folks, I think, one really, really important thing that Lois said early on, which was it's not how much you say, but it's how you say it that matters. It sounds really simple, some of these statements, but they're really, really important. Why is this one important? Because people listen in a particular manner. And this slide is perhaps very, very illustrative to just about everybody in terms of how people understand. The way you are going to communicate to a Captain Kirk, who is a quick decision maker, emotional, but yet in control, likes to be in control, is very different from how you will communicate and set a strategy. How will you communicate with Spock, who is a Vulcan, likes to be very logical, take in a lot of data, understand that, and then make a fact-based decision, right? So same way, every day you encounter Captain Kirk, Spocks, Uhuras, and Scotties. You see them every day. You come across them in emails. You come across them in your daily business transactions. And if you had this kind of a cognitive chart like what Lois just showed, this analysis that tells you this person is this kind of a personality, this is their behavioral set, and this is perhaps the best way you can approach them. Imagine how much of an advantage you would have and a leg up you would have on your competition in being able to communicate in a very personalized manner, right? People buy from people they trust. And so, first of all, how you say it. Secondly, what is the content? And that's the second thing that Lois showed us was that by being able to focus in on her core accounts, she was able to find content and share that on LinkedIn and other social media networks as a way of establishing her own personal brand reputation as somebody who's knowledgeable in B2B marketing. So let's go and see what is we have a video again over here, right, Lois? Um, yeah. So let me just tee this up a little bit. So one of our marquee clients is Dell. And here's Eric Schmoody. He's a service sales director. He's been using, and his team have been using xiQ. This is how he sees the impact of being able to use this kind of tool in a real life example. So let's see that. Let's hear from Eric.
The DISC insights were really cool. I do know that it's very accurate, but it does allow us to set kind of before you go into a meeting, understand the mindset of your customers and the way that they think. Like my sales makers, they have on average 500 companies that they're usually calling in on. You can't know about 500 accounts unless you have the ability to say, hey, this is one of my accounts. Go scour the internet, do whatever you need to do to collect information on the account. The platform itself is incredible for us to really be relevant, not just initially, but ongoing with our customers. One of my direct sales reps got a notification that a customer basically had an acquisition and was notified via the xiQ engine. The customer that he reached out to, he took a look at some information provided by the xiQ platform, which is this AI, spoke to the customer and made a connection point really quick. And basically what that produced was a 1.8 million plus, probably about $3 million total opportunity for our sales maker. And so it was really putting my sales maker in the right place at the right time for this customer.
So again, great example of how, in real life example of how this kind of an AI based tool can help break new opportunities, break in new opportunities. But Lois, I think there are other ways also that you're using xiQ to drive engagement, right? This is where your brand is very important, and I think you're putting a little bit of effort in establishing yourself in the industry as somebody who knows a lot about B2B marketing and sales is bringing innovation. So tell us a little bit about what is that you're doing over there.
Absolutely. Because like you said, the embodiment and what Eric has touched base on and Henri said earlier as well, the embodiment of a next generation sales maker is building a reputation and trust with their audience. And so I also need to generate engagement and standout content to increase brand awareness as well as cadence with my buyers. And so again, taking you back to a day in the life of how I execute this and drive my awareness is by creating weekly digests. And so I want to generate content that is by reputable third parties from the internet, as well as xiQ's content. I want to let my audience know, hey, I've done my market research. I know that this is a topic of importance. And not only am I talking about it, but others are talking about it as well. And so how we generate this is by using the xiQ engine and just simply putting in a few keywords and search terms. And so from these keywords in relation to B2B marketing, B2B sales, because that's the topic that I want to engage my audience with and let them know, again, this is what's happening in the industry today. I put in these keywords and I'm given a plethora of articles related to this topic. And so by simply clicking on the title on the left, I'm given a great overview of what the article embodies on the right. So I can quickly look at the concepts, I can quickly look at the keywords and pick and choose what articles from Forbes, from Salesforce, from B2B marketing I want to include in my email and my campaign. So not only that, but we also have the content management system, which lets me bring in xiQ's content directly to this email. And so again, I want to make sure that my audience knows about the webinar that we're hosting right now, or one that we're hosting at the end of February. It could also be a blog that we just created or content award that we just won. So I'm including these articles and again, designing this customizable campaign about the industry awareness, thought leadership. I'm becoming an advisor to my prospects and also building the trust with my current clients. And so not only can I create and share this using xiQ's platform, but if you use Marketo, HubSpot, and other marketing tools right now, we're integrated. We want to make life as easy as possible. In the past, I've had to go to Google and LinkedIn and YouTube to find all of this content, and then I'd have to zip over to HubSpot and create it. But now with xiQ's roof, I don't risk being redirected, and the amount of time I'm saving is incredible, but the cadence that I have with my audience now is tenfold what it used to be. And so Usman, that's just touching base very slightly about, again, it's not how much you say, but it's what you say and the tools to really hyper focus that thought leadership and to have today's conversation today.
Yeah, I really love this effort, where you're very passionate about kind of driving the discussion. And folks, it's all about getting engaged earlier in the sales cycle, right? So every seller, and I use the word seller, and that applies to marketeers as well. Every seller, everybody that's in the business of sales and marketing needs to be able to, has to transform into a partner of their clients. They need to understand their age-old problems, pain points, develop empathy. Now, What xiQ is providing is a platform that helps you accelerate this, an environment and an experience where you can close this full engagement loop in one platform. Different team members can come and do that, or one team member can do it. So Lois, for example, she's passionate. She is like, every Thursday, I have to get this thought leadership piece out. And she sends it to quite a few tens of thousands of people and gets great engagement. And last week, Lois, I think you added this webinar and you got a lot of registrants. So the call to actions in something like this, which is your thought leadership piece, is also actually driving tangible lead engagement as well, correct?
Right. And I mean, for me personally, I want to be the first person to bring innovative news to my prospects. So the 30 minutes a week that I spend on these thought leadership digests has truly been the best time I invest into nurturing my pipeline.
Beautiful. And you know, Lois, you were there. We spoke to Kabil Shah from Nutanix, and he's a visionary and he's kind of a thought leader in the ABM space, doing some really incredible work over there. He made some very, very interesting observations in terms of how B2B sales and marketing is evolving and maybe not even evolving, coming together into few roles. So let's hear, Lois, what Kabil had to say about the future of B2B sales and marketing.
Marketeers have started to appreciate the sales process more. And you have salespeople who are becoming more marketeers. They're interested in their own brands. I think there's an evolution that the two pieces have come together closer. The amount of information going out to people today is just growing exponentially. How do we work in that speed and make sure we're still sending relevant, timely information to people that really resonate? How do you put stuff together that resonates with that individual in a timely, relevant format, right? That person wants to get that information.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what Kabil is saying is you've demonstrated it as a living proof. So yeah, so now next about account-based marketing. So what we've done so far, is just to kind of do a quick recap. You identified a prospect in a company Splunk, and you have now included the people that you wanted to target at Splunk into your weekly thought leadership outreach. And now you are also interested that how is the performance of this thought leadership outreach? What are what can you really understand from that? And so, as we live in an account-based world, this is how you are. I think you're going to share with us how you're actually conducting that account-specific kind of focus and bringing that into your sales and marketing.
Absolutely. For me, I'm chomping at the bit 24 hours after my send to look at the analytics of an email that I sent and then help better understand the intent of my readers. So it's data-driven account-based marketing. And this might be my favorite part about xiQ, if I can be so bold to say it, but I just love to geek out over the analytics. I want to know who's reading, what they're reading, and then again, marry that with their personality for future outreach. And so from the weekly marketing digest that I send, I have really great success rates in opening. I can see that the open rate was 12%. And then xiQ also breaks it down into top accounts that are reading and engaging with the emails that I've been sending. It breaks it out into the top contacts. And then not only that, but the content, the articles that they clicked through and found most engaging. So this is at that 30,000 foot view, which is great. But for me, we're talking about account-based marketing here. So I need to understand the click rate and thought process of an account at a company level. So let's say, aside from Splunk being an account that I'm targeting, I also have Fidelity on my radar. And so if I go into the Fidelity account, again, I'm given a great overview at the company level of who the top individuals are that are reading that email. I'm shown the content that the folks at Fidelity found engaging. And then not only that, but this is the really, really unique part, the firsthand intent. So from those articles that they clicked through and read, again, at a company level, I get keywords from it. I get that they're interested in early warning systems, in brand purpose, strong brand purpose, and then also B2B e-marketplace. So I'm using this information along with what I find out about Fidelity, the same way that we just looked at how you find out information about Splunk. All in one page. I have sales triggers, I have financials, and so I'm pairing that with the intent from the articles that they read. But as Usman has pointed out earlier in this webinar today, people buy from people they trust. Yes, it would be great to break into Fidelity at an account level, but I'm going to need to gain a rapport with individuals there. And so if I know that Laura is now my contact person, or maybe she's clicked through the most in these emails, I can view specifically what she found engaging as well as the intent. So here I'm shown what Laura has subscribed to. I'm shown the content that she has read, as well as the intent again from those articles. So she's more interested in content marketing. She's interested in sales marketing leaders. So I'm going to, again, take notes and really hyper-personalize my outreach to Laura and my engagement. So this is wonderful. I know what she's reading. I know what she finds exciting. But again, when it comes to reaching out to Laura directly, I don't know much about her. So I want to view her profile. I want to see what our AI engine says about Laura from a business perspective. So the previous individual we looked at, Carrie, was a planner. Laura is a captain. She's assertive. She's direct. She's persuasive. So when I reach out to her, I'm going to want to cut the fluff. When it comes to building trust, she likes to focus on the big ideas. So I'm not going to get pinpointed or lost in the details. I'm going to stay high level. And so again, I'm using all this information from her engagement and her personality and really personalizing my outreach without never having met her. Because again, my visibility in the field isn't what it once was.
Beautiful. Excellent. Great. Great use of the tool, and glad to see that you've actually been extremely productive. So let's jump forward, folks. So I think there is a video over here that we wanted to share with you, which kind of outlines xiQ's view on account-based marketing. And this is kind of, let me just kind of tee this up for you, team. So we talk a lot about accounts, yet we talk a lot about people and personalization in account-based marketing. Yet, where is the people factor? Where is the people element? And what we have demonstrated, what Lois has demonstrated, that at her fingertips is the ability to custom craft a pitch for a dominant person, for an analyst kind of person, from a counselor person, from a motivator, for different type of people, craft a particular approach. This is super, super important, because as we said at the start, it's not how much, but how you say it. So let's see through this video how xiQ enables ABM, and what is the game changer that xiQ and artificial AI is kind of enabling in ABM. Let's see that.
B2B sales and marketing is all about personalization. Sellers and marketers need to connect with their prospects and buyers in a highly individualized manner. Unless we understand each individual involved in decision-making groups as a person, we will continue to relabel the gross generalizations we have made in the past with new monikers and buzzwords. Up until now, it has not been possible to understand the personality of each person involved in a buying group. By combining proven behavioral science-based personality assessment methodologies with artificial intelligence, xiQ empowers B2B sellers to better understand buyers, what motivates them, and what drives their decisions. It enables sellers to custom tailor their pitches and build trusted relationships with their buyers. xiQ allows B2B marketers to segment audiences by personality type and develop campaigns and content that resonates with each person. It enables them to market to an audience of one, at scale. xiQ is the only platform where personalization is more than just words.
Great, thanks a lot. So let's moving forward. So now what we're going to do is take a kind of look forward into how the future is shaping. So what we've demonstrated today is that in order, you need to have a closed loop platform in place. You need to be able to go through all those cycles what Lois demonstrated. understand the buyer, understand the account, engage the buyers and prospects, create thought-provoking content that helps you build your reputation, as well as establish a dialogue with clients and audience. So you have to do all of that. And then you need to be able to harvest that information. This, what Lois demonstrated today, is the end-to-end B2B marketing to sales cycle. This is how we go through the funnel, the decision-making funnel, also known as the buyer's journey. Now, the way sales and marketing technology has existed is that there are about 8,000 plus sales and marketing solutions. And in order to conduct that one end-to-end process from marketing to sales, today on average, you have to go through about 16 different solutions. And we're just demonstrating on this slide some, this is an illustrative slide. It's demonstrating how that market is broken up from prospecting to content development, to content operations and management, to CRM, to marketing automation, to analytics, as well as to sales intelligence to close the deal. So these are, today, this is what the landscape looks like. Let's go into how xiQ addresses that. So now what we demonstrated was everything that Lois did was in one platform. Yes, it does coexist with your existing investments in infrastructure. So, however, you can perform a lot of the core closed loop functions within xiQ, within one platform. So you can take this discussion, as Lois demonstrated. She wanted to contact somebody who's a marketing director, identified, put a game plan around them, kind of reached out into Splunk and started connecting over there. All she did was in one platform. And that gives her tremendous agility. Imagine, she's generating content, so to speak, herself, as well as driving engagement and being able to harvest across multiple accounts, 50, 60 key accounts Lois focuses on. And she's able to harvest on those accounts and very intelligently kind of drive her engagement all through one platform. So, which means speed, of course, speed to market, value to market is critical. Flexibility, if you have to bridge and jump across 16 different solutions, there's a lot of cost, time, and rigidness associated with that. So xiQ helps you get past that. And then, of course, what that translates into is lower total cost of ownership. So if we go into the next, just please. Yeah. So again, just kind of summarizing, right? So the world today, 16 disparate solutions. It's rigid, as I just mentioned. It's focused around integration. If I don't have it, let's plug it in with a different solution. Now, when you start pulling this heterogeneous jigsaw puzzle together, it's a very expensive puzzle. It's a very expensive set of pieces to keep in one place. And it definitely reduces your flexibility and speed, not to mention your cost. So that's the reality, folks, that we've been living in. Two things have happened. Business has changed. The desire of the buyer, the way the buyer wants to be handled, has changed. 80% of buyers want to move digital, right? In order to move into that digital environment, you need to be able to have a system that lets you operate in real-time speed. The business speed is real-time speed. You cannot be hop, skip, and jumping across 16 different solutions to get to one answer. It's just very difficult, okay? And so xiQ allows you to kind of, then AI, our lives are filled with data. There's so much data floating around. xiQ picks up that publicly available data to help predict personality types of individuals. xiQ picks that publicly available data to help you form dossiers around companies. And xiQ helps you kind of leverage all of that in a very purposeful, real-time manner at the speed of which business is done. You cannot be caught sleeping. You have to respond proactively to your client's needs, and you have to drive the discussion. That's the requirement of the hour, and that's what real-time full closed loop platforms like xiQ can help you enable. If we can go to the next slide, please. What I want to kind of, yes, please.
Oh, I was going to talk about, even though we are one fully, like you said, closed loop platform, we did want to touch base on how we are integrated with Outlook and showcase that, if you don't mind right now, just because, again, we want to make life as simple as possible for sellers and marketers.
Yes, let's see that. So yes, exactly. The ubiquity of this that we wanted to talk about is xiQ is now going to be available in Microsoft Outlook. So here what we see is, again, reducing that friction to get to good intelligence on people. So within Outlook, you can see at the top right-hand side, there's a little icon which shows that xiQ has been installed in the toolbar. And then there's a side window that is open. And here you can check the personality type of everyone that you're sending an email or you received an email from. And xiQ will even provide you recommendations on how to custom craft that email, how to engage that prospect, what is their personality. Imagine if your customer facing teams had the ability to custom craft each and every single interaction with their clients and prospect. This is not a daydream anymore. This is entirely possible. You can do that as we are showing. Not only is this proximity in Outlook going to be giving your sales and marketing team the ability to get real-time intelligence on people, it's also going to help them understand what's happening in companies. So I can get, again, full information on companies. And again, I can get totally aware of what's happening within my clients right within Outlook. This is where I live. And right within there, I have this capability. And last but not least, the ability to come up with these alerts. And here, all my account alerts are here, and I can leverage this information again to start conversation as well as to post in social media, again, right within Outlook. Think about the sales intelligence productivity of your sales team when you have this capability for each and every single communication. So, Lois, what are we? I think we need to kind of start wrapping it up, right?
We do, yes.
Okay. So where are we now? What are we left to do? So there we talked about Outlook. What's next? Yeah. So just in conclusion, folks, how do you thrive, right? These are the forces, and this is what when you go out to take decisions in terms of what platforms you need to build or select. A couple of things. AI is a must-have. It's a game changer. There's too much data floating around for you not to be able to collect and harness the intelligence out of that. Marketing and selling has moved away from persona into personality. We demonstrated that. That's a really, really powerful tool. As Eric from Dell told us, his team has real life experience and success with that. One platform, the speed with which Lois can operate through her full funnel with multiple buyers is unprecedented. And she can have time to actually go skiing now, right? So she used to be working all the time, and now she can go skiing and make it look really, really good at the same time. And you can see that Lois's role has also transformed. She's actually generating content, so she's kind of in a way doing some work that marketing used to do. So she's in the field, she's instigating conversations and driving engagement. And then last and not least, the focus has to be around driving return on investment. And the way you do it is by forming strong relationships and establishing the trusted relationship basis. So yeah, that brings us up to who. So we'd like to thank a lot of our customers as we close off this, who have been supporting us, who are at the front of using xiQ as a platform to drive next generation results. So thank you very much to our clients and customers. And then, we're also very appreciative that our efforts to transform our vision into a reality is actually being recognized in the form of industry awards, whether that's for best B2B content around how field marketers should transform into ABM specialist, or the highest subscription award from the Content Marketing Institute, or numerous recognitions on G2, which are directly as a result of our clients giving reviews.